Today we're going to talk about the vertex or crown region, and what we're going to cover today is three elements. Number one, we're going to talk about the different types of patterns that we see in a non-balding scalp so that we understand what we can do to recreate that pattern. Second, we're going to talk about the types of hair loss patterns that occur in the vertex. And third is going to be the considerations that we need to know before we actually undertake restoration of hair in the vertex or crown region. As a point of semantic clarification, the terms vertex and crown have been used interchangeably, and I'm going to use them interchangeably. Sometimes I'll say vertex, sometimes I'll use crown, but I'm meaning the same thing, which is this distribution right here. Let's first talk about, in the non-balding scalp, what we see back here. How is this area, how does hair grow differently in this region compared to elsewhere? It grows in a whorl, W-H-O-R-L, a whorl, which is basically hair growing out in a circular fashion from a central axis point. The only other place on the scalp that potentially grows like a whorl is in the central hairline. That is more commonly found in a female and in some male scalps as well, such as a cowlick or some curving pattern in the front. But the classic whorl is in the back in the vertex or crown. In a study of about 540 men and women, what a doctor tried to do was find out exactly what kind of patterns exist in nature. And what he found was that in about 77% of men, they grew a clockwise pattern, or what he called an S configuration. And in a smaller percentage, it grew a Z configuration, which is the opposite. And then also there was a diffusion pattern, which just means that the hair was growing out in different directions. And finally, there were different patterns of double whorls that occurred in a very, very small percentage, of less than 5%. Let's go over exactly what these types of patterns are so that you understand. There are 5 different patterns of whorls that can occur in nature as far as the study was showing. The first one is an S pattern, which is basically a clockwise pattern distribution of the hair. And again, this occurred in about 70-some% of men out there in this one study. This pattern here is the Z pattern, and the Z pattern is basically is a counterclockwise or anti-clockwise pattern for the whorl. And a double S pattern is 2 clockwise whorls that are adjacent to one another. And finally, an SZ whorl, where there's a clockwise adjacent to a counterclockwise on the right, looking at the patient, or the patient's right as well. And the pattern that did not seem to show up is a double Z. So the final pattern, so there's 5 patterns I mentioned. The final pattern is diffusion pattern. And diffusion pattern is a pattern where it's just going out from a central point, and this is more commonly found in women. About 70-some% of women in this study, there's only 36 women in the study though, found that they actually had more of a diffusion pattern, followed about 11% with women that had the S pattern, and then right behind this one was the Z pattern. The other patterns of the double whorls were less, excuse me, the Z pattern was not found. The double whorls were following this in less than 10% of the cases. Now let's talk about different types of hair loss patterns that can occur in the vertex. The most common would be just a circular loss, and that obviously would be with or without the component of the frontal and mid-scalp region as well, but just an ongoing recession in a circular fashion. The second type would be a kidney bean type of shape that looks like this in the back, okay, with the indentation above. And the last one, which is less common, is known as a coronet pattern, where the upper portion is a larger circle that we know about, and there's a tiny one adjacent to it right below it, and you have to look for that. And you have to make sure you transplant that area. The coronet was named by Jim Arnold, who passed on recently, a famous hair transplant surgeon, who thought that the coronet was named after the smaller crown that a prince would wear compared to the crown that a king would wear. Now let's talk about the consideration in terms of hair transplanting the vertex. There are many things that you need to think about. First of all, if someone is beginning to lose the vertex in the 20s, it's an area that really should not be transplanted, because you know that that area is going to continue to expand in nature, and that's a very dangerous thing to start transplanting this area. Because you know there's going to be further recession, you may run out of donor hair in transplanting this, especially in someone that young. I generally don't transplant vertex or crowns in someone in their 20s. I don't even particularly care to transplant in the early 30s. However, in someone that has a very small crown region that's lost in the early 30s with incredible good donor hair, that is a better candidate than someone in their 20s with ongoing progression and widening. And that person, no matter what age, if we work on the vertex, even if they're on medical management like Propecia, Rogaine, we have to consider the fact that that will expand further and that they will need another transplant in the future. So whenever we work on the vertex, we always have to entertain the idea that we need to put more hair transplant in the future in this area. But remember, the most important areas to work on the frontal and the mid-scalp region, because that frames the face as an area that we see all the time. It also has less problems in terms of further recession compared to this area, and we really need to use that donor density to fill this area, because just a transplant of vertex can also look very unnatural if we run out of donor hair to fill the frame of the face and there's ongoing recession in this area. There's other